What is your full name and what is your hamula?
My full name is Salim Khamis Ali and من دار Ibrahim.
When and where were you born?
I was born in Ramallah in 1956, March 17th of 56.
Please state your mother and father's full names.
My father's name is Khamis Salim Ilyas Musa Ali. And my mother's name is Naima Ishaq Akko.
Please state your grandparents' full names on both sides.
My grandparents on my father's side is Salim Ali, and on my mother's side is Haq Akko, and on the city Sabha Musa, Sabha Ilyas Musa, and Jamila Akko.
What did your parents do for a living?
My mother was a housewife, as most are in Ramallah. And my father was a retail person that had a produce market and had a grocery store. Had the produce market for Hisba, the old Hisba, and the grocery store across from Rukab, and still there till today.
Do you have any personal memories of your grandparents?
Unfortunately, my grandparents, on my father's side, my grandfather passed away when I was a younger age, so I don't remember much of him. But on my tata's side, she's lived with us, and I remember a lot about Siti Sabha on my father's side, and very lovely lady. And on my mother's side, I got to know a little bit of my grandfather on my mother's side, Ishaq Akko, and got to know him a little bit. But and Jamila, which is on my mother's side, I got to know her very well, yes.
Do you have any memories with them?
Well, so on the Sido side, not really a lot, except Sida's Hag going to El Hisba, and he had a store there in the Hisba, and me going to be around him and playing around in the Hisba when I was young. And him, caring for me whenever I needed some care. But on the grandmother's side, on both grandmothers, I have a lot of great memories. They showed a lot of care about us children, their grandkids, and the love, and helping out even my mother anytime she needed help. So there were a lot of support, family support, and that's really where in the Ramallah culture, so to speak, the grandparents' support and the parents' support and the family support and the love that you see, you continue to carry that sort of approach with our kids till today. So that's been priceless, so to speak.
Tell us one of your most memorable stories you heard from your grandparents.
Well, the most memorable ones are, when Sidi Salim, he had to go to the United States in 1902 and, be able to go without any kafala and work in New York. And, and them telling me about trying to make a living, obviously, and bring, money back to support the family. So he eventually didn't stay in New York. He came back after spending some time, in New York. And so that's really been always a memorable journey that he had to make in talking, about, my grandmother telling me about that particular approach that he took.
What traditions did you practice while growing up, and do you still practice the same traditions?
Yes, I was born in a Greek Orthodox religion, family. And so we are still till today Greek Orthodox, go to the Greek Orthodox Church. So we've continued that tradition. Now, one thing that my mother did as kids, because she came from a Catholic family, each one of us, I have 4 brothers, and I'm the oldest of 5 boys. She always would dress us up as Ruhban for 2 years and make our hair grow for 2 years before cutting it. And we would go al Qiyamah, and she cuts it over there in the Holy Sepulchre. And so it was a tradition that she carried with the boys, but we are Greek Orthodox, so we practice the Greek Orthodox, which is very close to the Catholic Church.
Interesting. Describe your home in Ramallah. How many bedrooms, bathrooms? Did it have modern amenities? Did you share a room?
Okay, so I was born Fidar Ibrahim, which is Hosh Kandah, and it's close to my dad's store where the Hispa is, still the coffee shop there. But 3 of the brothers were born at home, and 2 were born at the hospital. So my brother Maher, myself, Salim, and Wa'il were born in Ramallah at home, and then 2 of us in Jerusalem. As a matter of fact, I went inside the house the other day, and still there, and we have a kitchen downstairs, and upstairs there's 2 rooms. 1 room my parents lived in, and 5 boys in 1 room on top of the house, and there is no facilities, so to speak of, at the time in the 50s when I was born in 56. So it was really a good reflection to go back. As a matter of fact, I brought 16 friends from the United States of America, and last Friday just took them to the house and showed them where I was born and the areas I lived in. And one only bad memory that I have about that house is my mother fell as she's bringing the clothes down from the roof as we dry the clothing on the roof at the time. And she was coming down, and there was no rails on the stairs. And I was playing in the courtyard, and she fell in front of me. And that memory is still in my mind. I could see it to today. But luckily, her head hit the clothing when she fell, and she just broke her leg. And so there's a positive to everything. It could be worse, but that's the only bad memory that I remember about that particular area.
Did you live in that house the whole time you lived in Ramallah? If not, where did you move?
So I lived in that house not many years, and then we moved ala Batn al-Hawa. And we were ala Batn al-Hawa in 2 houses. One close to Khalil Musa area, and another one is maybe quarter of a mile down. So we lived in a beautiful home. The last home that we lived overlooks a lot of landscape. That's beautiful landscape. And so I was in the '67 war. I was at a different house, where the house it's in the Batn al-Hawa. And I can talk about that particular incident that I can talk about in the '67 war. There was a bomb that exploded right in front of our house. And fortunately, we were in the basement at the house, the 5 boys and my parents. And luckily, the bomb exploded in the street itself. I went by the other day just to remind me of what has happened back in 1967. So we were fortunate as kids to survive that incident.
As a child growing up in Ramallah, what did you do for fun? Did you go biking with family? What did you do?
Well, basically, we played soccer, which was my love, and then played a lot with marbles with my friends, and basically going hunting. Bird hunting is memory that I'll never forget. Going and sitting down under the fig tree, and at one time I remember sitting there for most of the day and killed 72 birds with a marble over what we used to call the karim, el karim with teen and all that. It was a lot of good memories with friends doing hunting, playing marbles, and also tried to win some stamps until today. And hopefully my grandkids will get to see the stamp collection that I won playing marble in Ramallah. I took it back to the United States of America and still have them sort of in books that preserve the stamps that we used to get, whether from the USA or from or Malta or whatever people used to go to send letters, and we get these stamps off the letters. And I've won a lot of stamps playing marble. I was good at it.
Nice. Were you able to travel easily from village to village back then?
My father, being a produce salesperson and a grocer, my dad started taking me to these villages like Al Khalil when he goes to buy produce, or Al Annapolis. So I would go with him because of the fact that he was going to buy produce to bring back to Ramallah for sales and or merchandise for the grocery store. So I got the opportunity to really do a lot of that. Now, I was about 6 years of age one time, and my dad said, "No, you're not going to go with me to Jerusalem." And I really wanted to go to Jerusalem, and I hid in the car, and he didn't know that I was in the car, in the back side of the car, until we got to Jerusalem. Then I jumped out of the car, and he was very, very surprised. But my father taught me a lot of business at a younger age on bidding on produce and how to buy and how to sell. And so I attribute a lot. I'm in the construction business, and a lot of things that I've learned in Ramallah as a kid, even selling to Nawam, to the Kuwaitis and the Saudi Arabia people that used to come here as a kid. And I still love to support those kids that sell on the street because it reminds me of my days, trying to sell people that visit Ramallah. And so I have good memories of that. And my father taught me a lot of business as a kid growing up that I use till today in my construction company in the United States.
What is one of your most vivid memories of Ramallah growing up here?
I would say really the most vivid memories is being with friends and playing with friends and whether it's soccer or marbles for that matter, or going hunting with them. So really, as I look back, it's the family that I've seen with even friends and cousins and people that cared about each other. So really, Ramallah always comes to me as about family and friends. And I didn't want to leave, trust me, when we left in 1970. And it actually took me about 4 or 5 years to accept leaving. I mean, I would cry quite a bit as a kid, 14 years of age, leaving Ramallah and going to the United States. And I can talk about that more when I got to the United States and what really happened, because I didn't speak any English at all. But really, the friends and the family that still touches me till today. And by the way, one of the things that I want to talk about, the Ali name, which is it okay to get off track a little bit? Yeah. But, so إحنا من دار إبراهيم. And my family were, like I said, like my dad, Khamis, Salim, Ilyas, Musa, then Ali, okay? So the reason the Ali name came about is my great-grandfather, and how the story was told to me, is they hired a guy by the name of Ali, and he was working with them and helping them out in the things they did. Well, unfortunately, Ali lost his parents. And once he lost both of his parents, they sort of adopted him. And then the name started to be told, this is Abu Ali, Abu Ali. So Abu Ali name came about and then stuck with our family. So we're the only family that has a name that with Ali because of luck up, so to speak. And that's how it came about. And I think it's good for some of the family members or others that see that, what happened there.
So when the Arab-Israeli conflict began, what were some of the immediate changes you experienced living in Ramallah?
Well, obviously, when we became under occupation, and as a kid, kids not as concerned. I mean, we're playing around and all that, but I have seen where, now the Israeli government beginning to put some rules and regulations in place about what time you can get up in the morning and what time you sleep at night, and how much can you be out and about, trying to take control of the area. So, that was a big shock to me too. I was 11 years of age when the '67 war happened. And I always said, thank God it was only 6 days, because after the bomb exploded at our house, close by our house. But at the end of the day, really, as boys, we adapt to change, and we adapted to the circumstance, whatever the circumstance is. And my brothers and I, we were taught by my parents to follow the rules, no matter who, if they make the rules, we follow their rules. If a government comes in, makes the rules, we follow the rules. Till today, I still practice that in the United States of America. Whether it's Trump changing rules on us, whether it's tax rules or regulations, or whatever the case is, I'm the kind of person that I adapt to the changes, no matter what they are, because I want to follow the rules. So it's my parents taught us that, and so the rules change in the morning, I'll change accordingly.
How long did you live in Ramallah during the conflict?
So 3 more years. So we were here till 1970. So we were here from 67 to 70 after the war, and left in June of 1970. So 48 years ago.
What did you and your family do to survive?
Well, fortunately, especially the Ramallah people and the Palestinian people, always figure out ways to survive, no matter what the circumstances are. But my dad was in retail. So really, the only change that I've seen after the '67 war is that we quit receiving people from Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and others that used to come to Ramallah. That's the big change that I've seen. So that affected the economy somewhat of my dad's business, grocery store and produce to a certain extent. But, we continued to do the same thing my dad did until he left for the United States. And by the way, my father left in 1969 before we did. And the reason is that he didn't want to go to the USA for an opportunity of 5 boys, to give us for education, other things that he told me that he wanted to do, is when he left, he wanted to make sure he buys a business that can support 5 boys, which is a big family. So he didn't want to go and take us all and then say, okay, what do I do now? So he wanted to make sure he establishes himself for a year, or whatever he thought that is comfortable that he can bring us to the USA. And after a year, he decided that he can support. And actually, we got a grocery store, and we lived on top of the grocery store, like we did with 2 rooms, actually, and in North Little Rock, Arkansas, which I can talk about in a minute, but that's a special move there. And every American person I run across, they always ask, why Arkansas? So I have to go through the story again, and I may talk about it now, but Arkansas was a place that none of our people from Ramallah really would go to. They always would go to either New York or Detroit or Houston or Jacksonville. But my father went to those places. He went to Detroit, he went to Jacksonville, he went to New York, scoping out the USA. And then my mother's brother, Isa Akko, was a traveling salesman, with Mikhail Akko, his cousin. And they were a traveling salesman selling, getting merchandise from the Bateh family in New York and selling merchandise to the farmers in Arkansas. And in Arkansas, there's a lot of farming. So they were very, very successful in selling merchandise, because malls back in the 40s and 50s were not there. It was out of the cars. So they would go and sell to the farmers. And so they went to visit. And when my dad found Little Rock, Arkansas is like a Ramallah, small town at the time, and it's still small. Right now, Little Rock is 200,000 people. But at the time, probably was 100,000 people. And he told me, he said he wanted to control 5 boys, and to control 5 boys, he wanted a small town. He didn't want a big city. So that's his story to me. And so he did a good job keeping us in shape and keeping us right. And I think we would be anyway, but he didn't want to take a chance. And then I raised my kids in Arkansas.
Where did you go to school in Ramallah?
I went to, obviously, to the 8th grade. So just 1 year in the North, in the Ramallah public school system.
Did you work? If so, what did you do?
Okay, my work is to help my dad at the stores in Ramallah, which I learned my business side of it, and then go out to the streets of Ramallah and selling nawaim and gum and whatever the case may be, because my dad had the grocery store. And I would go out as a kid till I was 14 years of age and be able to, sell things and negotiate prices with people.
Where and when did you meet your spouse, and did you know her in Ramallah?
Okay, my spouse, her parents were born in Ramallah. She was born in Florida, in Jacksonville, Florida. And the way I met my wife, Janet, now of 38 years, being married, in 1980s when we got married, is we were at a wedding. And my wife, Janet, was invited by the bride's side, and I was invited by the groom's side. So as soon as I walked in the hall and I looked and I saw Janet, I told my mother at the time, I said, you see that girl over there? And she said, yeah. I said, that's the one I want to marry. Just like that. And it happened. So I said, let's go and maneuver. And I want to ask for a dance. So I went and asked Janet for a dance, and the rest is history. We got engaged for a year or so and got married.
How and when did you get married? When did you get married?
I got married June 1st of 1980.
Or did you go on a honeymoon?
Yes. We went to Mexico, Acapulco, Mexico. That was a trip that has changed. We went 20 years later for our 20th year anniversary, and I really was hoping to go back on our 40th year anniversary. But we stayed at a place called Las Prisas. And we stayed in the, I'm a kind of person that keep a lot of notes, and and so I knew the room number that we stayed at. So when 20 years later, I went back to Acapulco. But Acapulco, Mexico, we stayed there a couple of weeks, and it's been a fun town at the time. But things changed.
That's cute. What is your occupation? What is your spouse's occupation?
Well, my spouse is like, she's never worked. She's, thank God that she raised our kids with me, but paid a lot of attention to raising kids. Family comes first. And then money comes and goes. But family is priceless. So we focused on the family and kids. But I went to school. My dad, had a grocery store. And my dad always wanted us to be educated, all five of us. And I'm the oldest, so I had to set the example. And I've always wanted to be a civil engineer in my mind, because I've loved buildings, I've loved design, I've loved, the civil engineering side of the equation. So, of course, you got to understand, when I came to the United States, I was 14 years of age at a place in North Little Rock called Rose City, and they've never seen a foreign student in their life. And I didn't speak any English. So they thought I came from Mars. And I had to get really work hard to learn the English language and be able to get with people. If I was in Detroit or Jacksonville, Florida, they've seen foreign students. But in North Little Rock, Arkansas, they've never seen a foreign student. So anyway, to make a long story short, the teachers, and this is where I feel like that teachers, I have a lot of respect for teachers. They touched my life and touched my future by giving me the opportunity to make it, because they knew I was working hard, trying to learn the English language, trying to learn the only language that I knew is mathematics, because it's a universal language. But, and they helped me a lot in grading me based on my progress. And so this is where really I didn't feel like I was discriminated against in any ways, is that people, when you work hard and want to make it in life, people will help you. So the teachers touched my future. And I decided to be in civil engineering, and I went to the University of Arkansas. And I can tell you one thing I want to mention about Ramallah people that comes to mind for my education is Dar Bateh, Abdullah al-Bateh, and his family has created a scholarship that would help kids of Ramallah to go to college. Well, I can tell you that is really, really good. And that's why I'm now helping the scholarship under my dad's name, because it helped me. So I'm always thankful for the Dar Bateh family of having such a scholarship that helped me go into civil engineering, became a civil engineer in '78. I went out and worked for a construction company, because I went to church, to Greek Orthodox Church, with a guy by the name of Gus Ratsinas, and Gus convinced me that I needed to be in construction. I started in the construction business, and after 8 years, I opened my own construction company. That is the biggest retail construction company in the United States. We work all over the country. We do about $1 billion in volume per year. And so, my brothers, worked with me in the company and built the company. The only brother that we have, what we call the black sheep of the family, he's a dentist. So he decided to be a doctor. But the others were engineers, and business people that worked with me building the company that we are today. And so we're celebrating our 31st anniversary in the construction business.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 children, and 2 girls and a boy. The oldest one is Jessica, and she's an attorney in Dallas, Texas, She's in the construction. She's a construction attorney, actually, in the construction field, and she doesn't work for me yet, because she tells me that Dad, you can't afford me. But and then my son. So she went to Rhodes College and got her her degree in law at the University of Arkansas. My son Derek went to Stanford and got a management science and engineering degree. He lives in Dallas as well, but he works for our company, and he's in the Dallas office. We have 9 offices around the country in the United States. So Derek works in the Dallas office, and my daughter Adriana, she works with us as well, but she's in the Atlanta office. But they're all married, and I have 1 grandbaby and 1 on the way. And our love right now is Vivian Rose Alley. And we're expecting another grandbaby in December, God willing.
Tell us about leaving Ramallah for the U.S. When did you leave? What mode of transportation did you take? How was the journey? Who traveled with you?
Okay, so when we left Ramallah, we had obviously a big party to say goodbye. And it was not an easy way to say goodbye to friends and families, and so it was a lot of crying going on amongst me and my brothers, leaving Ramallah and leaving the friends. And I don't know where I was going. I mean, I didn't know anything about America, to be honest with you. All I heard is America, and I know it existed, but didn't know what happens there. And but we left. My mother was with us. My father was in the United States already, because as I said, he wanted to establish a business. He established a business. My mother was with us, and 5 boys, and my grandmother, Jamila, on my mother's side, was with us as well, traveling. So, and that story can be, I can spend hours telling about the journey, going through New York with a Mlkhiyah, mana. But I can go on and on about that journey, which was really good journey. It turned out to be good. And my mother spoke a little English, so we got by. I mean, I'm just, was in a daze watching her communicate, because I didn't speak any English. But we flew right into Little Rock, Arkansas.
And where did you go from what airport?
We went to Tel Aviv Airport at the time.
And where did you land? And did you stay there, or where did you settle?
We settled in Arkansas. We went straight to Arkansas and settled there, because my dad's already made those decisions, the retail and the place he wants to raise the 5 boys.
How old were you?
I was 14.
Describe your feeling the first time you landed in the U.S.
So, we had few cousins, not many cousins in Arkansas. And my feeling is, so I wanted to see my cousins that I missed that have gone before us. And the feeling was, okay, here we are, trying to adjust to another area that I know nothing about. And it was tough. It was, to be honest with you, as I said earlier, going to school, not speaking English, going with people that never seen foreign students before. It was a tough, and it really, sometimes being in a tough situation will create character, and it gives you opportunity to work harder trying to make it. And that's what it did for me and my brothers, is that it gave us the opportunity to work really, really hard trying to make it in life. And the first thing, first day in school, I almost quit, but my dad says, never ever quit. So I learned something from him to be persistent and be able to make it whatever you put your mind to. And this is where I think even in Ramallah, and no matter where you are, hope. If you have hope and you have perseverance and persistence, you can make it in life, no matter what you want to do.
Were your children born in the U.S.?
Yes, all 3 of them were born in Arkansas.
Talk about your immigration experience and living in the U.S. How easy was it to assimilate or blend into the American society?
It was tough, obviously, initially. And like I said, the teachers in Arkansas really helped a lot by making us comfortable knowing that we wanted to make it. And so in that sense, and trying to make friends was difficult. But also I worked in the grocery store, so as I'm working, my dad would help me with the English language. And I worked the cash register. That's my brother Maher, who's the dentist, worked the meat counter. I hated blood, so I didn't want to. So he worked in the meat counter. I worked the cash register, and my other brothers would help, in the grocery store as well as time went on. One of them was only 4 years of age, so he couldn't help much. That's my brother Hytham. But at the end of the day, between my brother Mike and myself, and then Wa'il and Isa and Hytham, we all sort of committed that we were going to make it, committed to focus and work hard. But I never liked mustard when I got to the United States. Now I love mustard. I mean, that was the worst thing I ever really tried at the beginning. So not only that I had to adjust to the culture of the United States, but I had to adjust to the food that's different than the Arabic food.
Talk about your neighbors and where did you live?
So we lived, as I said initially, on top of the store because we were working the store and all that. And after a few years, about 3 or 4 years, my dad built a house, which is not too far, probably about 2 miles from the store. And then he built another house, and so we moved just like in Ramallah. We started at a place, and then we moved to 2 houses. Well, that's what we did in Arkansas. And right now, all my brothers, live in Arkansas with me, and we're a very close family, and that's what it's all about.
Do you have any family members remaining in Ramallah, or are they all in the U.S.?
Everybody's in the U.S. except my brothers, 2 brothers that married sisters, have family here. And then the only family that I have is on my aunt's side, my mother's sister, Badia Ako. I have cousins that I got to see in Ramallah this time. Every time I come to Ramallah, I have to see them. So I got to see them, and they're still in town. But other than that, no, everybody just moved to the United States.
Since immigrating to the U.S., have you traveled back to Ramallah? If so, when and how often?
So the first time that I came back since I left Ramallah is in 1997. And it just brought so many good memories. I said to my wife at the time that she was with me and she's never been here before. Her parents were born here and she loved it. I loved coming back, reminiscing and all that. So we started coming, and what I love to do, and I did it this time again, is to bring American friends to see the Holy Land and then to see Ramallah. So last Friday, and I've been here on the average, every 3-4 years. I would come to Ramallah. But last Friday, my friends came with me for a week and we stayed in Jerusalem and we toured all the Holy Land. And then one day I bring them to Ramallah, and all 16 of them, with the mayor, Musa Hadid, met with us, which was wonderful. I love the mayor and really is a great ambassador. With Dr. Faiz Shamiya came with us, Isa al-Baba came with us, and then Yusuf Zarifa hosted, our group. But Dr. Faiz Shamiya was kind enough to have us at his house and host lunch for us. And his house, they said, this is what the Ramallah hospitality. So I love showing my friends that have never been to the Middle East, never been to Ramallah, to show them what Ramallah is all about and the hospitality and the family that we have. So they go back and talk to my friends. So I brought many friends here, and I love when they tell other friends, you got to go with Sam to Ramallah just to see how the hospitality and the family of Ramallah live.
So describe how Ramallah feels to you since leaving.
Well, I can tell you, since leaving and going back, I asked the mayor, I said, tell our friends since 1956 what happened to Ramallah. He said, I was not born in 56, so he made it clear. But But there's a big difference. I mean, the buildings, and being a contractor, I love to see buildings. So there's a lot of buildings have been built. The streets are still there, the streets of Ramallah. I can walk them, go back to the old city and Al-Hisban. You know, those streets have never changed, but the buildings have changed tremendously, and it's amazing of how much changes. And you know, it's good progress. I mean, I've seen some of that in Arkansas as well, and so you see it. So it was good to see Ramallah being vibrant economically. You know, many people visit Ramallah. According to the mayor, you know, 200,000 people a day come to visit Ramallah. So that's a lot of people, and it's really to see the vibrancy and the economic growth. And we walked today in Ramallah and seeing everybody just the hustle and bustle, and it's like New York. You know, everybody, you know, seems to be doing well. I mean, it's not, you know, obviously this is not the typical Palestinian people that are living, but it's good to see smiles on faces. It really was.
Do you still stay in touch with people in Palestine?
I really don't, except, you know, for like my brother's family, you know, Yusuf, Zarifa, and my cousins, but I really don't. Sorry to say, just there's too many people to stay in touch. And, you know, now my wife and all that, with Facebook, I don't have Facebook, so I'm not on social media. So people on social media get maybe to, but I don't.
What are your thoughts about what's happening with Jerusalem?
Well, I mean, obviously it's unfortunate, you know, because I don't want to see, I'm a peaceful guy and I want to see peace, and I always pray for peace. And you always want to see progress making peace. You know, Bill Clinton in '99, he's an Arkansas guy. I've known him as a governor. And, you know, he came very close of resolving it. But it's always about Jerusalem, obviously. And once we figure out a way to resolve the issue of Jerusalem, there'll be peace. But, you know, I don't get involved politically, frankly. But I pray, I love peace. I want to see peace. Whenever I read about an opportunity that peace may occur or a meeting may occur, I get excited. But unfortunately, over time, I thought '99 would be the year, and it came very close to happen. And after that, you know, I continue to pray for peace.
And do you think you will see peace in your lifetime?
You know, obviously, I'm an optimistic kind of guy. So I always want to look at positives, and I would never say no, because that's not me. So gut feeling tells me yes. Some people tell me there's no way, okay? So, but I don't believe, so I have to be optimistic because peace has to occur. And I think Israel knows that occupation cannot last forever. I mean, you know, so somehow at the end of the day, whenever the right time comes and the compromise comes, where everybody's comfortable, because, I mean, you know, the Jewish people and the Arab people live together. You go to Jerusalem, they're living together. It's not like people can't live together. They are living together. That's what I like to see. I like to see peace where people live together happily, because everybody wants their family to be successful. I mean, it's all about the human side of the equation. So nobody wants to see bloodshed. I don't. So I keep hoping for peace.
What are you doing to help the peace process?
Oh, except, you know, whenever I see my Congress people and my senators and political people that are connected that can make a difference, I always tell them, I said, you know, even back when George Bush was president and I met with him for a few minutes, just tell him that you know, we got to resolve the Palestinian-Israeli issue at the end of the day, and it would resolve the Middle East crisis, in my opinion. Once you resolve the Palestinian-Israeli issue, it resolves a lot of issues. And I think every president wants to resolve that issue. I really do. The question is how. And that's the difficult part. But we keep praying that it happens. But I wish I can tell you that if you bring the people together to make the peace process, not politicians, they'll probably come up with a plan.
And what are you doing in support of the Palestinians?
I mean, beside the fact that I talked to my senators and congressmen and politicians and saying, listen, you got to resolve the Palestinian-Israeli issues. You just got to do it. And you got to support them and be able to help them because it just can't last forever like this. And they know that, just coming up with that solution. But beside offering my support and to the Palestinian people, they're great people, as we know. And that's why I bring Americans to see our people. Whether we go to Ramallah or go to Bethlehem or go to Jericho, and they see the place and say, "This is people want to live. They're good people, so therefore they need life like it should be."
So, is there anything else that you would like to add, or a story that is memorable to you and you would like to share? A story that you will never forget?
This is, I have to say that that the Ramallah people and our families from Ramallah, the convention, every time I go to a convention, it really makes me proud to see our people. And, in Arkansas, I don't get to communicate with a lot of Ramallah people because it's a smaller town and don't have that many Ramallah people. But conventions really always been memorable to me. But especially the most memorable moment is having the convention in 2014 here for the first time in Ramallah. I think that's whoever made that decision made a great decision to bring people back home, reminisce, and get us together in our hometown of Ramallah than just a state or somewhere else. So I love coming. Hopefully we'll continue to do this. The leadership, I keep telling them they need to do that. The leadership does a great job. I wish I can do more, but they've done a wonderful job. So the memorable moments about Ramallah is really, I would have to say, coming back for the first time in 1997 probably was a very emotional time for the first time coming back after many, many years to Ramallah.
Talk a bit more.
Now?
Talk a bit more about that.
So when I came back with my partner, who's American. He used to be a Baptist preacher. And so when I came back to Jerusalem and touring the Holy Land and bringing memories of the Greek Orthodox Church and Holy Sepulchre, where I spent some time, and then bringing them to Ramallah and going to see, my uncle, Khalil Musa, who was the mayor of Ramallah, and just talking about, what happened to Ramallah and the changes that happened in Ramallah, and walking the streets of Ramallah that I used to be as a kid, walking them, it brought tears to my eyes because it was just a very emotional moment that brought back some great memories as a kid growing up. And it still does, but it's not like the 97 days. So Ramallah has always be on my mind.
And is there anything else you want to add?
I just, the only thing I can say is that Ramallah people are awesome people. I love them all. And they love family. And at the end of the day, if you have your family, you have everything. Because money comes and goes. Nobody compares how many dollars do you have in the checking account and all that, but they know the family is the most important. And one of the things Ramallah people have created is that each kid represents a whole family. So even with my family and my brothers and all the nephews and nieces, we still practice that. Listen, no matter what you do, it's not you, it's you're doing it for the family, whether it's good or bad. So you reflect on the family. So some of the things that we learned about family in Ramallah and taking it to the United States and still practicing it with our kids, nephews and nieces, and hopefully our kids will practice it with their kids. We're definitely going to practice it with our grandkids. Just the reflection of the Ramallah people that the family is what it's all about. And if you disappoint the family, then that's a no-no. So no one wants to disappoint the whole family. So they know everything they do is always in their mind, what is the right thing to do? And this is what Ramallah people are, and this is how we learned, is what is family values. And family values is simple, is what's wrong and what's right. And when our family teaches us what's right and what's wrong, then we know how to practice it. And so really, I would have to say that more families need to learn from the Ramallah families of how families are. And hopefully it'll continue for a long time. There has been some changes. I'm not going to say that it hasn't, but we're still there. So.